Greetings, boys, girls, and gender rebels. I'm Plunder Bunny, and today you are joining me for a question and answer video. All of these questions were sent to me by the lovely people over on my Patreon. That is patreon.com/underbus. Okay, first question. Any favorite horror movies /books/podcasts? Okay, for books and podcasts, I really don't like horror. I don't know, books and podcasts for me, they're kind of, I use them too much. Like, I'm almost always listening to a podcast and reading a book of some kind. So, like, I tend to not do horror because it, like, escalates my base mood, if that makes sense. But, for movies, I really love spoopy films. Things like Gremlins. I love Gremlins. Or The Frighteners. I love The Frighteners. That's such a good movie. Or like the Beetlejuice film. I freaking love that movie. I really like spoopy, where it turns out that the bad guys actually aren't that bad. Or like the people who everyone is associating with being like this big evil thing actually turns out to be like sweet or misunderstood or something along those lines. I love spoopy movies with that as the theme. In terms of like actually scary, violence doesn't really do anything for me. I don't find violent movies to be scary. Things like House of a Thousand Corpses, like Devil's Reject, that style movie I often find to be funny. But the Japanese versions of The Ring and The Grudge, I saw those movies when I was 10 years old, and they live in my brain. Like, they're not even that scary. It was partially mixed with like age and the fact that like Japanese horrors do like this psychological thriller thing that's like, it knows how to like play with lighting and emotions and all that good jazz to make it just the right kind of scary. And yeah, so if I want to actually be scared, I love watching like Japanese thrillers because I don't know, there's something about the way they do it. Are you a good multitasker? Can you pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time? Yes, you can't see it though. Yeah, actually, I'm really good at multitasking. In fact, I'm pretty bad at single tasking. Like, if you tell me to do one thing, you'll be like, no, you have to focus, Penny, on doing one activity. It's like, oh God, good luck with that. Like right now, the fact that I'm recording and there isn't a podcast and music playing is like, it's hard for me to like be focused on one thing, which is world's tiniest violin. That's not me trying to say like, oh, this is hard. It's like, I just have a much, much easier time if I'm doing a lot of things at once, actually focusing on something. I don't know why, but I just do. Probably has something to do with my brain. Any tips on how to go about setting up a video game stream? All right, so I would recommend that you go on YouTube. I know you're on YouTube right now, but like I'm not a professional streamer. I'm still in the kind of learning stages. My hardware is breaking all the time. It sucks. But everything that I've learned from watching YouTube videos, watching streams, asking streamers what things they're using. For me and my setup, like I have a wall that I have hammered a green screen onto, and I've got a ring light with 3 alligator clamp lamps stuck to the bottom of it. So they've got like a fairly decent green screening light, but like it only works for Beat Saber. Like it only worked from a direct on camera. If the camera was moving at all, and you could see the drop shadow of us because the green screen isn't properly backlit because it's just front lit. So basically, if the camera angle moves and you can see our shadow, the green screen no longer works. It only works for the front on angle. And this is a whole wall that I have hammered a green screen onto, because what actually matters for green screens is light. And lights are extremely expensive. And also you need a lot of space to properly set up a green screen light, which most people don't have. So a lot of streaming things is, basically my advice would be to select the specific type of game that you're planning on streaming and research that specific game's requirements, because every game has a different streaming requirement. And yeah, having learned how to stream ukulele doesn't help me all that much in terms of knowing how to stream Beat Saber. Like, the two are separate skills that I've had to develop. Do you experience panic attacks? Yes. Yes. I don't really leave my house very much anymore because of how many panic attacks I have, which isn't the best. Would you do custom content for Patreon? No. I used to, and I'm not opposed to the concept. Like, I don't have anything against doing single photo shoots for people. My problem is that it takes too long, and it takes a really long time doing custom content, just as long as it would to do a normal photo shoot. And then you don't get any, like, you can't advertise with the photos. You can't, like, post anything on Instagram, or like, it's, for my job, the way that I do it, like, I'm not just a cosplay model. I'm also a YouTuber, and I'm also a streamer, and I'm also like, and that same thing can be said for a lot of cosplay models. And like, where we put our time kind of depends on several things. And for me, I don't personally like charging a large amount of money for single things. And if you are going the route of the model who does like individual photo shoots for people, you have to charge a really large amount of money, because otherwise, like, it's an insustainable thing. Like, because you can't do any advertising with it. So it's like, you have to charge like one really large lump sum. I don't like doing that. I would rather charge a lot of people $1, and give them the same thing. That's because that's how I work. So for me, I have been slowly drifting away from custom content and more into like very not custom content, if that makes sense. So doing custom photo shoots, like, I'm open to doing them. I have done them, and I will continue to do them if there's like really exciting projects, or if the person's really up for paying a large amount of money. All right, I can do that for you. But I'm not someone who's doing it for 50, 100. Like, it's just not, even though it's a decent amount of money, I would rather spend the same amount of time doing a photo shoot and giving it to 50 people for $1. Like, I just would. That's just how I work. So, no. No and yes. Yes and no. Yes, custom, but no to me ever really wanting to do it. What stores/restaurants do you enjoy locally? And what do you miss from Japan and Australia shopping/food-wise? Okay, what stores/restaurants do I enjoy locally? Since moving to America, I love Mexican food. Mexican food is freaking good here. I have also always lived in the southern states. The first state that we moved to was Nevada, and when we lived in Las Vegas, and the food there was crazy. The food in Las Vegas was crazy. Like, it's insane. I don't think I've ever been to anywhere that can compare to the fanciness of the food that was for sale at Las Vegas. Like, I used to live with a fine dining chef, and we used to go to fancy restaurants all the time back when I lived in Australia. That was a thing that we did. When we had money, we would go to a fancy restaurant. That's what we spent our money on. And so Las Vegas was some next level. It's crazy. There's this place called Holstein's, has burgers. That's real good. There's also, oh god, the Wicked Spoon, really good. There's a lot of buffets in Vegas that, like, so I can think of like individual dishes from the buffets, but I can't remember what buffets. All right. Also, in terms of shopping in America, I love wandering around malls. It's a bit weird for me sometimes because I'm from Australia. Like, I'm from Paddocks in rural Australia, proper rural. and then I'll just be on Hollywood Boulevard, and it'll be like, oh, I'm on Hollywood Boulevard. Oh, that's where I am right now, on Hollywood Boulevard. What am I doing here? I don't know. I'm not going to buy anything because I don't know how to buy things that are expensive. I like buying, I don't know, a soft toy with a weird face from the thrift shop and then coming home and putting it in my backdrop and going like, oh, you're my favorite. I don't know how to spend several $1,000s on a handbag. I don't know how to do that. Like, that's a skill that I don't have. So I don't know how to shop in fancy places, I guess. But there have been some surreal moments of me being like, oh crap, like I'm in Las Vegas, or even honestly just being in Hot Topic. Like, cause Hot Topic, like I was a kindergoth. I was such a goth and stuff back when I was a teenager. And I used to see Hot Topics. Like I used to go on the Hot Topic website and look at it and just be like, oh, if only I could afford the postage. Because I want it. Tiny little baby gothy dreams. I want Nightmare Before Christmas dresses. And all that stuff was denied to me in rural Australia. So just being in a Hot Topic is, okay. Terms of Japan. Okay, so Japan. What did I like food-wise? I liked, oh god, there was this coin slot ramen place called Arashi. So good. Arashi ramen. They had curry jack was the seasonal special that they had one time. Still the best curry that I've ever tasted in my life. I freaking love it. I also love their fried rice. From back home, what do I miss? Okay, so I didn't live in towns until I moved out of home. So shopping wasn't really a thing. Like, I legitimately didn't live near stores at all. Like, not near a mall. So there wasn't, like, a mall that I could walk around. But after I moved out of home, like when I was, whatever age I was when I moved out of home, Queen Street Mall in Brisbane. In terms of food, there was probably is still there, a Sichuan place in Fortitude Valley called Dragon Inn. Holy crap, Dragon Inn. They have a salt and pepper tofu and a Sichuan tofu, sizzling Sichuan tofu. That are two of my favorite things to eat still to this day. Every time we go to a restaurant that sells Sichuan province food, I'm always like, salt and pepper tofu and Sichuan tofu. And they're always good, but they ain't never as good as Dragon Inn's. Like, they just ain't. It's probably because of my childhood memory, but God, they were good. Oh, what else? Govindas. Oh, I miss Govindas. I miss their kofta balls. God, I've tried to make kofta balls like Govindas kofta balls before, and I just don't know how they make them. It's like, because kofta balls are normally made with meat, but Govindas is a vegetarian place. And it's like this, I don't know, it's just this really exciting, like, dumpling in, like, red sauce. God, they're good. I have a friend who runs a food truck now out of Annalee called the Wild Spice Kitchen. Her food. I miss her food more than any other food from Australia. And, like, it's weird because I would have said, like, oh, my friend Tarzia, I miss her food. But there's no way you can try it because she was just a chef that I lived with. And so she would cook glorious food and I would eat it. No. But actually you can, if you happen to live in Brisbane, you can go get her food because she runs a food truck. And she is brilliant. She is a brilliant, brilliant chef. Genuinely. Brilliant chef whose food is amazing. I miss her food a lot. Go to the Wild Spice if you live in Brisbane. Okay. Yeah. So, like, I do like going shopping and food and stuff, obviously, because I just spent a long time talking about it. But, like, I do tend to prefer nature when I go places. Like, I prefer whatever random trees grow in a place or whatever flowers or how the weather is. I tend to get really excited about the weather in different places, which I know sounds like a boring thing, but, like, when you've lived a lot of different places, it can be like, wow, there's no humidity here, or, like, there's tons of humidity here, or, like, God, it's hot, or like, it's interesting the way that, like, the actual outside world changes and the fact that humans live in it no matter what it is, if that makes sense. Like, I find that interesting. All right. So, next question. How much stronger are your arms since you've been playing Beat Saber? Yo, so much stronger. Like, so much stronger. But more than stronger, faster. Like, Beat Saber, it's because you're not holding any weight. You're just holding little sabery boys. It's not like it's definitely doing something for strength, but more than anything, it's like speed, the amount, like, and the quickness, like, it helps my brain. It genuinely does. Which might not necessarily be for the best because my brain's often a little bit too fast for my mouth and it thinks 5 steps ahead of the things that I'm trying to say. Beat Saber encourages that. Like, Beat Saber's like, it just helps. It just helps in every single way. And it works out your whole body. Like, it's not just your arms or your shoulders. Like, the shoulders are, funnily enough, the area that I've noticed the most, like, physical change and, like, physical strength changes and stuff, because I've always had pretty weak, like, shoulders. And they've gotten, like, quite a lot stronger since playing Beat Saber, funnily enough. But also, I have a bigger bum than I did. And I have better thighs. Like, I have almost no fat on my thighs now. Got a little bit because I'm a chubby person, but, like, it's crazy how much Beat Saber, like, what areas it affects your body. Like, all of it. And it kind of depends on how you play. Like, you don't have to play in a way that engages your core. You can stand there perfectly still and just move your arms. But you can't really do that on the harder modes. Like, if you get into Expert Plus, you got to be up for moving. And if you're going to be moving anyway, like, I've got my core tight the whole time I'm playing because of how quickly you have to move. Your body has to be, like, really tight. Like, you can't get floppy and lax because you won't get them fast enough. Like, you can't turn on a dime quick enough to get a one that's... Beat Saber's great. It's so good for fitness. Blows my mind how good it is for fitness. Like, so good. Okay, what next? What is your best scary story? I don't like scary stories. I actually do have, like, a lot of them, but I tend to intentionally forget them. All right, well, I mentioned earlier the story when I was 10 years old and I watched the Japanese versions of The Ring and The Grudge. So I will tell those stories. Back when I was 10, my parents split up when I was 5. And my dad remarried a Japanese woman. And I visited my dad in my childhood, like, maybe 3 times. I don't really remember visiting his house really very much at all. But on one of the very few times that I ever visited my dad's house, Dad likes horror movies. And so we watched those films together. I think that possibly because he didn't raise me directly, and I have a brother who's 5 years older than me, he just had no concept of my age or, like, just how inappropriate it was to show a movie like that to a kid that was that age. But, like, then after watching these movies, I went to bed in this house that I'm not used to sleeping in, right? It was my dad's house, my dad and his wife's house that I, like, didn't really know. And their guest bedroom looked like it had the same wallpaper on it that, like, the cupboard in The Grudge, the Japanese The Grudge, has wallpapered on it. And they had the same style of, like, sliding cupboard that the lady comes out of sitting at the foot of my bed. And the bathroom, they had this balcony with this set of, like, semi-spiral staircase that came down from it, with the bathroom sitting, like, dead center of this thing. I don't know if you've seen The Grudge, but in it, there's this horrifying scene when a lady is going down some stairs in a very... And it looked freaking identical. So, like, it looked like I had the wardrobe that the lady crawled out of at the base of my bed, and then to go to the bathroom, which is naturally something that happens when you are terrified as a small child. You just need to pee to 10 times as much. It was like this horrible, terrifying stairs. That whole night, I just had hallucinations. the whole night without stop, just non-stop hallucinations. I just saw her coming out of the cupboard over and over again at me. And like, it was just the most terrifying thing. And like, because I didn't really know my dad or my stepmom really well at all, like I wasn't comfortable crying or asking for help or like telling them that I was scared. So it was just like, I couldn't even scream. I was just trapped in this room, just terrified. Just, oh God. And yeah, I guess that's it. Like, I know that I probably could have told it in a more like spoopy way of like, and then there was like noise and then the cupboard pulled open and then a lady came out, like, but it was that over and over again. Like, I don't know. I scary stories, I hallucinate a lot. Like, I have a brain that lets me see a lot of things that aren't really there. So like, I have too many scary stories. Things of feeling like I was okay and then just seeing some horrifying thing happen. Like, it's not good. I don't like it. I don't like scary things. I like fluffy things. And I think that that's why I'm finally kind of getting into Halloween, because I understand like it is okay actually to like the spoopy aspect of Halloween. Like, you don't have to be like this hardcore like scared of everything, like, or like doing intentionally freaky things like haunted houses and stuff like that. You don't have to do that if it's something that you don't like. I don't like it. Things are scary enough. But I love goofy things. I love ghouls and spooks and like woo. And I guess that's why I've been really getting into like the spookmas sort of aspect of it and doing like Toy Story costumes. Because like, I don't know, scary stuff, like, I just don't like it. It's too scary for me. What's your favorite YouTube video you've ever made? What's your favorite shoot you've ever done? And where do you want your career to go creatively? I'll start with the end. Where do I want my career to go creatively? I don't really mind. I love Beat Saber, and I hope that it is involved in my future career because I really like it. But I'm an entertainer. I love entertaining. I like making people feel relaxed. I like making people smile. I like bringing on the opposite of whatever it is that horror causes people to feel in their stomach. I don't really mind how I go about sharing that with people. I've kind of always felt up for whatever the internet tells me people are interested in watching from me. Like, I'm happy to make audiobooks or podcasts, or I would go into acting if it felt like that's something that people would like. Because I like all of it. I really just genuinely enjoy being creative. I love drawing. I love singing. I love dancing. I just like making things. And so any opportunity that I have to make anything at all is one that I'm happy to have. So I tend to just kind of be willing and up for whatever creatively because it's fun. So I don't really mind where my career will go. In terms of my favorite YouTube video I've ever made and my favorite photo shoot. Favorite photo shoot is probably the Velma one that I did back on Okinawa. In terms of favorite video, my snow vlog. It got like taken down, I think, or maybe I got it back up, but like there was a song playing at a cafe for one of the moments, and so I think some of the audio might be a little bit messed with now, which is a real shame because that was the happiest day of my life. That video is the best video I've ever made and probably always will be. Yeah. Next question. What are your thoughts on piercings? I love them. I love piercings. They're very, very good. I love body mods. I love all body mods. I think that body mods are fascinating. Not every body mod is for me. Piercings are one of those. And that's not because I don't like them or their appearance. I have had a few piercings in my life, but I am clumsy. And I'm also very fidgety. And I wash my face like 6 times a day. So all of those things are really, really bad for piercings. My nose ring got pulled out of my face several times when I was a child, like ripped out of my face. So I've got like scars from that. So it's probably not for the best that I get more piercings. Yeah, so I kind of avoid them, even though I love them. I think they're beautiful. All body mods are just something that I find exciting and interesting. Next question. Pancakes, waffles, or French toast? All of them. Every breakfast is a good breakfast. The specifics are like all of them, like, I've lived in so many different places and the answer changes depending on where I am. I would say in America, French toast is the most reliably delicious. I don't know why, like maybe you'll just have really, really nice bread for French toast compared to some places. But y'all don't do pancakes very well. And please don't be offended by that, but they're like dry. and I'm just not a big fan of putting so much like maple syrup or butter on a thing. Like they tend to be too, I like a little bit of butter and a little bit of maple syrup and a lot of whipped cream and a lot of fruit and a lot of ice cream, which is what Australia does with pancakes. Like you go to a pancake place in Australia, you're going to get a lot of ice cream and fruit and like just a lot of stuff on it with just a few pancakes with just topping. And America doesn't do that at all. America does huge, really fluffy, dry pancakes that you're supposed to like drown in butter and maple syrup. And that's fine, but it's not the way that I like pancakes. Waffles. I've never really had a great waffle, and I'm still waiting for waffles to change my mind. But I in theory, I like them as much as pancakes and French toast because they're like crispy pancakes. But I haven't been somewhere that makes good waffles yet. So they're like, I still love them. They're still in my contenders of delicious breakfast foods because all breakfast foods are great. Genuinely, all breakfast foods is the best foods. But yeah, all three, they're all great. Okay, have you ever had any supernatural experiences? This is our last question. I think that because I hallucinate a lot, I've had a lot of supernatural experiences. So yeah, I've had a lot of supernatural experiences. But this is also kind of why I don't really like scary things and kind of why I don't really like ghost stories or stuff like that. Because I prefer to think that it's just in my head. I do. I don't like the idea that the things that I see are real. That's not comforting to me. But for a lot of people it is comforting, in which case, excellent. You do you. But I'm a scaredy bean who would prefer that not be real. Okay. I think that's it for this Q&A. I'm sorry that this was heavier. There was a lot of God, it's every time I get into heavy things like this, I'm like, you should re-record the whole video. You need to do all of those questions again, but focus on answering them positively. It is not okay that you wanted to say negative things, Penny. Just say nice things. And I'm not going to do that this time because I don't know how I'm going to talk about like scary movies and stuff without getting into that brain set. And it's fair to share. Sometimes I'm not always as positive and upbeat. Sometimes I do say the sad things. So that's kind of what this video is. I'm hoping that that's not too much for people. I'm still a happy person. Yay. All right, everybody. It is 5:12 a.m. And yeah, I'm going to go. Thank you all for joining me, everybody. From the bottom of my little black heart, I appreciate you so much for joining me and watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.